Do you feel drawn to learn more about witchcraft and the occult but feel lost on where to start? Then welcome to Get In Loser, We're Doing Witchcraft, a podcast all about what it means to be a witch and where to get started on your journey.
Join us as we navigate through various witchy topics and share what we have learned about the craft. So get in, witches, as we discuss spirit guides. Progress. We are nerds.
Yeah, we are nerds. But, and also I feel like we've had to say this pretty much every episode, but ignore the background noise from both of our ends.
Yes.
It is summer here in the UK. Kids are out of school that live on base. Unfortunately, that means they are behind our house at this field being obnoxious. And because it is summer, they don't go home until the sun sets, which is like 10:30 at night. So it is the worst.
And then we have a new puppy in the house who has been barking her little head off, playing around downtown, like downstairs. I almost said playing around downtown.
Playing around downtown. I like that. Perfect.
But she is barking and playing and being just so precious, but also so noisy. So we're sorry. But we're
also not though, because the puppy, like,
she's so cute.
I think you should post a picture of her on our socials.
I will. Little Nix.
Oh, I can't wait to meet her in person.
I know. She's so
really
cute. She's all wiggly, like gets all excited. I'm like, oh, puppy. Puppies are so fucking cute, man.
They are. You know what she needs? She needs a Get In Loser, We're Doing Witchcraft onesie or collar or something.
We need dog merch.
We do need dog merch.
I'm here for dog merch.
Little pins we can put on like their leashes and stuff.
Yeah.
And harnesses.
We do have pens.
Yeah.
I, however, did not order any yet. So
I did not either, but now I'm thinking I need to go and place another order.
I know, before the sale ends.
Yes, which when this episode releases,
it will be way ended.
But the merch will still be on our store. So if you guys don't know already, we have merchandise released on our TeePublic store, and we'll list the link in our show notes.
Yes.
And it's also like tagged on pretty much all our socials, so you can definitely check it out there. But we have some amazing shirts and amazing designs by Tiffany.
Yeah.
Because she did an amazing job. And I keep saying amazing, but they are amazing. They're really good.
I think I ordered like something with each design, like one of each design.
It's perfect. I only ordered 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I know like you have to send me it anyway, since I can't ship it to where I live, which kind of sucks.
But fine. I don't care. So to start off, we wanted to give a huge shout out to our favorite librarian, Jen, because she bought us coffees.
Oh, coffees.
Them. Yum. Yeah. So if you haven't seen or heard through our socials yet, we are on Buy Me a Coffee. And of course, Supercast, which we plug every show. So we will put those in our show notes. But thank you, Jen. We appreciate the coffees.
Yes. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We love you.
Favorite librarian ever. So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about spirit guides.
Woo! Spirit guides.
I'm excited for this episode.
I had to do a lot of research because I don't have a whole lot of experience with this. Like pretty much I have 0 experience with this. So everything that I say on today's episode is all research based, not personal experience based. But hopefully it helps some people because I did learn a lot doing this research.
I feel like I had to do a lot of research too. I do have some experience like working with spirit guides. And then I'm working with a psychic medium that lives on the base, actually down the street from my house, who I've met with her a few times. And then I've done like a spirit guide workshop through her mentor. And then she's wanting to meet with me to just kind of like hone my psychic abilities. And so I'm doing that like starting this coming week, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, I feel like this topic, I think, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of weird because people who are spiritual, they may think that spirit guides is just like, oh, it's a guardian angel thing. So I don't believe in that because I'm not Christian. You don't have to be Christian to believe in spirit guides. Like spirit guides are there. It has nothing to do with religion. So,
well, and I also found like researching this was a little bit difficult because there are different cultural beliefs in spirit guides, but there's also different like religious beliefs with spirit guides, whether it's through Christianity, like having guardian angels, or there was some article that I read that was talking about like the Holy Spirit as a spirit guide or Jesus as a spirit guide. And I was like, that's interesting, like an interesting take on it.
yeah.
But also, like when you look at it from the witchy aspect, there's like completely different. It's like the complete opposite spectrum of that. So it was really interesting to research it.
And, I've when I was in the spirit guide workshop that I did a few months back, there was somebody in there that had mentioned that they thought one of their spirit guides was Jesus. And I remember thinking like, what?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I don't know. I need to learn more about that too, because I was just like, okay, like Jesus, like a person named Jesus, like I don't understand, but
yeah, I know. I feel like as someone who grew up in a Christian household and then has removed herself from it because it was very toxic, I think when I see and hear those kinds of things, it's immediate like ick to me, like, oh, gross. But if that's your belief, then that's what you believe.
Yeah. And the way I look at it too, especially when it comes to not just spirit guides, but any higher being, like what's out there, humans are only able to understand and digest so much when it comes to how things work in the spiritual realm. And so I think that with some people, in order for it to make sense to them, they have to categorize in some way. And so like it could be a situation of, okay, this person represents my spirituality, so that must be Jesus or something. Yeah. Like that's kind of the way I look at it. But yeah, I feel the same way. Like sometimes if it goes too far right field for me, I'm just like, I don't know about this.
It like gives me an ick. And then I have to take a step back and remember that like I'm also just doing research for this and learning about it. So it's the chances of someone, especially who's not in like a pagan or witchy realm, actually understanding it in a scope outside of like Christianity or religion itself is probably going to be slim. And I think that's a good segue into our little FYI here. So when you're looking at spirit guides, you have to remember that different cultures and spiritual traditions may hold vastly different beliefs and practices when it comes to contacting ancestors and other spirit guides. And this is why it's like super important. We say this all the time, but it's super, super important that you really do your research, especially if you're wanting to work with ancestral spirits. We as humans have been conditioned to be afraid of spirits, and then spirits are often portrayed as being like lost or evil throughout media. Like if you think of scary movies or TV shows, like the first one that always pops in my head is Supernatural, because I absolutely love that TV show. But like for the most part, all of the spirits or ghosts or whatever in there, they're not evil necessarily, but they're confused and lost and angry or upset. And so they lash out. And that's not necessarily the case. Like, are there entities out there that are angry and harmful? Sure. But does that mean that every spirit or ghost or whatever is? No, absolutely not. Like we've been conditioned to kind of see spirits as either all good or all evil, but they're more complex than that. And they're capable of both help and harm. Before working with spirits, just again, make sure to research how to do so. You need to be able to set boundaries with them and know how to protect, cleanse, and banish before you even start trying to work with them. Some generalized forms of protection would be cleansing, purifying, banishing, protection wards or talismans, using things like salt, rosemary, and even mint. And then working with spirit guides takes time. So you have to be able to connect with them and communicate with them and build a relationship with them. Like I've read this analogy in a couple of different things, like books and articles that we've used in research, but it's like you wouldn't ask a stranger to help you with personal things. Like you would build a relationship with somebody before you like approached asking for help with like personal things. So just making sure that you're communicating and building a relationship and not using them for like just your needs constantly without giving back and building that relationship with them.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like so many people are always, they are trying to get in touch with their spirit guides to, try to attain something. And that's great. But at the same time, like you should still want to give back and you should get to know the people that are the spirits that are on your team, the spirits that are on your team. You have to get to know them. And I think too, like along with your list of things that you should do as far as like protection and stuff, I would also add to that list grounding as well, because I think that that's going to be really important because when you are connecting with your spirit guides, you're not going out of your body, but like you're reaching like through a higher vibrational way, like you're to get in contact with your spirit guides. You need to also make sure that you're practicing grounding. And it's important to practice grounding before and after you do it.
Well, and I know I talk about this a little bit later. I didn't put a whole lot because I feel like to really grasp this concept, you need to buy the book and read what she has in it. But Laurie Cabot's, what is it called? It's Laurie Cabot's Book of Shadows. She talks about, before she even talks about working with spirit guides, she talks about different types of meditations. And then one of the meditations puts you in what she refers to as the alpha state. And it's in the alpha state that is believed that's the higher frequency that your spirit guides like work within. So that's where they kind of live and vibrate. And it's a non-chaotic state because our typical lives are busy and loud and kind of chaotic in that sense. So you have to be able to remove yourself, calm yourself down, clear your mind, enter this alpha state, and then you can contact your spirits and, or spirit guides and have like build that relationship with them and ask for help or, do things that they're telling you to do. Or so it's really interesting. Like she takes an approach of science, like witchcraft is science. And there's a lot of scientific like backing in her Book of Shadows, which I really like as someone who is a health and wellness and science backed degree. So animism is a belief that everything has a spirit or everything has a soul. And this includes like plants. So your house plants, I know Anthony thought I was crazy. And this is something I learned from my grandparents. Every year when I plant my tomato plants, they have those little hairs. When I was a kid, we used to like go out. My grandma would be like, you tickle the tomato plants and it makes them happy and they produce more tomatoes. So I go out there and, stimulate the tomato plants and talk to them. I name all my plants. So I like, as someone who didn't understand that until I was an adult, like my grandparents also kind of practiced some of that with plants. And then a lot of people also work with animals, like animal spirits or animal spirit guides. And then some people still even take it further and work with like live flesh and blood animals, more in a familiar way. But it's all meant to be like an allyship, like learning from, working with, and using energies and correspondences within these plants, within these animals. And then even your ancestors, which we've talked about a couple of times. I think we talked about them mostly in the altar episode. Maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. So working with your ancestors. And with your ancestors, you really have to do research like on you, your family, and your like lineage essentially before you can start working with them. So, everybody thinks that witchcraft is like, you just jump in and do spells, but really you have to build the knowledge and do all this research before you can even get to a point where you're like, okay, I know what I want to do now. Spirits are conscious beings and they're considered to be energetic in quality. So they have supernatural capabilities and they have divine wisdom. And like that whole see it to believe it, like a lot of people say like, oh, I have to see it to believe it. That is not a phrase that will work within this topic. You have to be able to believe it like without seeing it for a relationship to be built with your spirit guides. For most people, you're not going to be able to physically see your spirit guides. That's it's clairvoyance is who sees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So clairvoyance, which I know Sam is going to go in like depth on later, those are who actually can see the spirits. Most people are not going to be able to. So what is a spirit guide? A spirit guide is a non-physical being that's assigned to help a soul attain its greatest potential on earth, essentially. So think of them as like they're your champions. They champion your cause. They comfort you when you need comfort. And they're like a compass that offers like alternate directions when you're stuck, whether that's, physically stuck just in a rut or, lost on which direction to go. They're there to help you on that. And again, like we were talking about the alpha state, they kind of vibrate on a higher than human frequency and they rarely thrive in chaotic spaces.
And according to Shelley Hoffberg, she's a psychic medium. She said that spirit guides are spiritually conscious energy that interacts with us both on the physical and spiritual planes through the channeling process, meditation tools, and mental telepathy. And usually your spirit guide team, it can have anywhere between like 2 or more, but usually you're on your team consists of 4 to 7 guides. You have a primary guide that is with you from birth. And the rest of the guides join your team throughout childhood, teenage years, and your early 20s. And I think that this is interesting because my initial thoughts when I thought of spirit guides is I thought like when you're born, you have this team already, and then you have them your whole life, but that's not always the case. And even so, like whenever I was doing like the spirit guide workshops and like trying to build that relationship and doing meditations to try to get to know them, I kept getting this presence come through that I'm just like, is this in my head? Because I think one of my spirit guides might be my dad, but I wasn't sure because he passed when I was 28. But there was a medium that I had mentioned already on the podcast that I've been working with. And like, sometimes my dad will she'll have dreams about my dad. Like she's never met my dad. She has never even seen a picture of him. And she'll like message me and be like, your dad came to me tonight and he wanted me to tell you this. And I'm like, that's fucking crazy.
That is
but
so
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But she told me, she said, because I had mentioned, or she had mentioned that her dad is on her spirit team. And I was like, oh, that'd be so cool if my dad was on my spirit team. And she was like, he is one of your guides. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. That makes sense now. Now I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so your spirit guides keep you connected to your higher self and your soul's purpose, and they guide you to stay on track to whatever your soul's purpose is. And if something is in your purpose to accomplish, you will find support through resources. And this can look like finding the right people at the right time, monetary or other physical resources like books. And they can also be a source of comfort or insight, like Tiffany had mentioned. But the caveat here is that they only help you accomplish things that honor what you've set for yourself to accomplish before you were born or incarnated on earth. So you can't just sit there and say, you know what, I really feel like in my life now, as I have it, I am going to be a billionaire and my spirit guides are going to make it happen. Like it can't, it's something to make your soul better, like to meet your soul's needs and what you set out for yourself. So if it's not a purpose that you've already set out for yourself or is going to help you achieve what you set out for your soul, then it's not going to happen.
That's so interesting. I didn't come across that piece of information. So I like that you added that. It's interesting to know because imagine if you could just be like, oh, I'm going to be a billionaire and my spirit guides are going to help me do that today. Or
yeah,
you'd have so many more billionaires.
Mm-hmm. But then if you think about it too, like even with like just my own personal path, like I always knew like I am going to help people. And I just knew that was my path. And then like throughout school, like I would kept getting like sidetracked. So I'm like, well, you know what? I can put this on hold for a while and do this other thing because it's easy. And it never worked out. Like any other path that I tried to take where it's just like, oh, well, I'm just going to do this right now because I don't feel like putting the effort in to get this educational achievement.
Yep.
I just need money now and I'm going to work. Like it never
Yeah.
worked out for me because it wasn't my soul's purpose. It wasn't where I needed to be.
I mean, look at me. How many times have I gone back to school
Yeah.
before I finally like figured out my passion? And here I am,
Mhm.
like working in a job that I absolutely love, and I help people and help, the whole county essentially is what we're doing. And I absolutely love it. And I'm thriving, and it's a perfect like
And
work environment.
look at how easy it just fell into place once you knew.
Yep. Yeah. Also, my chair occasionally squeaks and we can't figure out where the squeak is coming from. So I apologize. It's like when I back into it.
Yeah.
Anthony was like, he said that he wanted to buy keg lube and try that because the other stuff didn't work. So stupid.
That is stupid.
So with that, I read that when you start working with your spirit guides, sometimes it's easier if you start with your ancestors and then your land spirits, like spirits connected to the physical land that you live on. And then, of course, your house spirit is another one, which I totally love. And again, this is another thing that I think back to my childhood with my grandparents. My grandparents named the house. They said bye to the house when they left. They greeted the house when they came home, like those kinds of things. So it's funny, like, again, as an adult, researching these things and thinking back to childhood memories like that, where I'm like, oh, okay. We had a house spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are usually gentler spirits that are great for those that are new to working with a spirit guide. For your ancestors, you can just set up a space for them, like do your research, find out who your ancestors are, find out where you come from, and then set up a space for them. It could be a shelf, it could be an altar, really just any space within your home. And then, like I said, learn who they are and then work to reclaim your own heritage. And that's a personal journey for every single person. There's no like one right way to do this. It's going to differ for everyone. And it's simply just a way to go back to your roots as your heritage, your family, again, your ancestors, just learning all of that information before you start working with them. With land, it said that if you tend to nature, honor nature, and then make offerings to your land, that it's a way to start building that relationship with your land spirits. And then for your house, catering a relationship to your house or house spirit. So talking to your house, building a relationship with the spirit of your house. Like I was saying, my grandparents named it. And then they would, every time we left, they would say goodbye. And every time we came home, they would say hello. Or if things like went missing in the house, they would like ask the house, like, oh, where is this at? And then like later they would find it, kind of thing. So just being able to connect with it and talk to it, it causes the energy of your house to change. And it becomes more peaceful, allowing you to feel just more connected in general. And then again, plants and animals, you can work with plant and animal spirits, and that is more of an allyship. So you can use plants for protection and allies within your craft. Animals, if they're flesh and blood, these are more like familiars. And then if they're spirits, it's more like protection and guiding you and learning from their nature. Like, how do they react in different situations? How do they handle things? That, like, essentially that's what you do with the spirit version.
So you don't have to be a psychic or a medium to connect to your guides at all. You may not even be able to hear or see them, as Tiffany mentioned earlier, but they do hear and see you. You only need to set an intention and they will pick up on it. So doing this, you could request their help for specific goals you would like to achieve, whether that be a new job, a monetary goal, happiness, joy in your life, or just to discover what your purpose is. As we mentioned earlier, you have to be looking at what your purpose and your goal is on this earth outside of just, when I say a monetary goal, it's not like we're going to be a millionaire tomorrow, but how does that fit into your purpose that you defined before you even got to earth? And so your spirit guides can help you figure out what that purpose is and then help you to achieve that purpose. Spirit guides will not intervene unless you ask them to, as it violates your own free will. So consciously asking them for help is powerful, and it helps if you are open-minded, because what you need, as I said before, can come in many different forms. So speaking of psychic abilities, I think a lot of people have some sort of psychic ability that they don't realize that they have.
Yeah.
And the most popular psychic abilities are known as clairs. I mentioned earlier, you don't have to have psychic abilities to communicate with your spirit guides, but these are some of the easiest and most common ways your guides will try to connect with you. And I think everybody has a version of this. If not, they might have more than one gift. So the first one, the most popular one, the I see dead people one, is called clairvoyance. And this is the ability to see the spirit through your third eye, through energy fields. You can see spirits, symbols, and or visual premonitions that appear just in front of you. Clairaudience, which is known as clear hearing, is the ability to hear the spirit. This could be like a voice inside your head that issues warnings or gives guidance. People who are bothered by loud noises are naturally predisposed toward clairaudience because of their heightened sensitivity. And you can tell if you are clairaudient, oftentimes because you'll hear ringing in your ears a lot. And this is something that I have. I believe I'm clairaudient, and I know that I'm, at least when I communicate with my spirit guides, I'm clairvoyant and that I can see them in my head, but I'm not clairvoyant in just being able to pick up spirits outside of working with my spirit guides. And then clairsentience, that is clear feeling. So this is when you can pick up on others' feelings, whether that be gut feelings, empathy, picking up on the emotions of others, physical sensations, tingling sensations, or prickling from spirits. This one seems kind of, outside of like just empathy and picking up like other people's emotions when you're in a situation, clairsentience, I feel like is kind of a weird one for me because I've read details of people being able to pick up on physical signs from or sensations from like a spirit, like the tingling and the prickling, and that would scare the shit out of me.
So Sam and I several years ago went and did an overnight stay in a prison out in Missouri, the Missouri State Penitentiary, which is known as like the 47 bloodiest acres of America.
Yeah.
Because at one point, like back in the day when this was still a prison, the prisoners actually overpowered the guards and took over the prison and killed a lot of people. So we did a night stay in there, and talking about this makes me think about that. If you remember when we were down where they kept, not when we got left in the basement, but when we were down in that area where, because we had 3 mediums with us.
Yeah.
And one of them was clairvoyant. She could actually see them. And she kept talking about a man crawling around. I can't remember which area of the prison this was, but do you remember where she was talking about like they were crawling around, and then they had Anthony stand outside of our prison cell and we couldn't see him?
Yes.
So if you remember, we stepped into a cell at one point down there, and I felt sick. Like I did not want to be in there. It made me feel uncomfortable, almost like nauseous and dizzy. And I was like, I need to get out of this room. Like that's what that makes me think of. That, and then something pulled my hair. Do you remember?
I remember that.
I was like, somebody just pulled my hair. But that's what I think of with the clairsentient, is a lot of that, like feeling the cold pockets, or just like the not feeling like uneasy or whatever.
Oh, see, that makes more sense too, because I've definitely experienced that, like the most recent time that's happened to me. Obviously this is more like spooky stuff and not communicating with my spirit guides.
But, but as a way to understand the different clairs, I think that helps.
Yeah. I have experienced that when we went to, what is the name of that castle? Henry VIII, where he lived.
I remember that. I remember you telling me like you felt sick.
I felt so sick just in this one hallway, and I don't know why, but I can't remember the name of the castle, the famous one where he lived.
I am terrible with names of anything, so I will be no help in this in this area.
It's gonna drive me nuts. Let me just see. Henry VIII Castle, and I spelled it wrong 3 times. Hampton Court Palace. When we went to Hampton Court Palace, I definitely felt sick in this like servants hallway that also led to the chapel. And it was like, I felt dizzy and sick, and then it passed once we passed that area.
Yeah.
But it felt like something really bad happened there. And I don't know why or what. I didn't see anything. I captured orbs like on my photos and stuff, but outside of that, that was it. But that is a way to understand fully, I guess, clairsentience, because that Claire has not actually presented itself at all when I've been working in spirit guides. It's always been clairvoyance and clairaudience, but just never know. Also, another one is claircognizance, which is clear knowing. And this one is basically where you just know certain things without being told. So your higher self or spirit guides put information in the form of thought into your mind. So you have this strong sense of knowing that goes beyond logic and fact. And the intuitive information just comes into your thinking mind. It's not something that you feel like in your heart or your mind's eye. It's just something that you know in your head. And this could be even like working with, I have had this happen to me, working with spirit guides. I'm like, oh, that's never happened to me. It has. But like working with spirit guides, like sometimes, you may not, like when you're working with them and you're in that higher vibrational area and you're talking with or just trying to communicate with your spirit guides, you may not hear their voices at all. But in your head, like you just know what they're telling you, like, for instance, what their name is, or if they have a message for you, you just know this message and it's what they're trying to communicate to you.
Like a fleeting thought almost that just kind of passes through and you're like, oh.
Yeah. And it's not like you feel it, it's, it.
Yeah.
So that is claircognizance. And then another method that spirit guides will use outside of the clairs is dreaming. So during dreaming, just anyway, it's said that the soul leaves the body to explore astral planes, and it's much easier for the spirit to come to you in the astrals when you're sleeping. And there's a way, we'll talk about it a little bit later on how you can use sleeping to get in contact with your spirit guides, but they will come to you in dreams as well. You may not remember the dream when you wake up, but your body, your soul knows.
Slightly terrifying with the way that I dream, which I think I've told you about before, but
yeah, hopefully they don't come to your dreams then. Maybe they're protecting you in your dreams.
Maybe, I don't know, because let me tell you, my dreams are not dreams, they're nightmares, and I literally know no one in them. I've never met the people in them. I have never witnessed the situations in them, but they're terrifying. So who knows what that means or why?
So when working with your spirit guides, what information can you expect from your guides? Really, they will always have your best interest at heart. The information or guidance will always be uplifting and will raise your consciousness and hold you responsible for your own life. They will not tell you what to do, and they will not get angry with you. They have faith in your ability to get through issues and negative circumstances. So they're not going to, be rude to you. It's like an all-knowing, all-loving presence that's there for you. They're not going to sit there and get angry if you're not following the path that you're supposed to be following. It's nothing like that. They do gentle nudges. It's not like I told you to do this and you didn't, and now you're grounded and I'm angry with you. It's nothing like that. So how can you ask your spirit guide for things? Pretty much what you'll want to do, as we mentioned before, it's all about whatever your spirit's purpose is. So focus on the what and not the how. Focus on your clear intention for what you want in your heart, what your purpose is in life and how you want to achieve it. But design your ideal life, your ideal career, relationships, and details of your daily life. And so basically what you could do with this is you can write down in a journal exactly just that visualization and that intention, exactly what you want your life to look like, what your purpose is, or what you believe your purpose is in life, and write that down. You could do a 3-column method. So what you would like to discard from your current life that's not serving you, what you'd like to introduce into your life to help you achieve the purpose that you feel is your purpose for your soul, and then what from your current life you'd like to keep. And this can be a good way to be clear about what you want and to narrow down what your purpose is. Say if you don't know what your purpose is, like sitting down and looking at your life as it is now, taking into account what you have, what you want, and what you believe your purpose is, or if you're just open to the possibility of trying to figure out what your purpose is, sitting down and just looking at your life, looking at the things that aren't serving you, looking at the things that are serving you, and letting that guide you will be a great way to kind of open up to what your purpose is. And it can help you be clear on what to ask your guides. And so some intuitive guidance might come as thoughts. So it could go unnoticed. Like you could just be sitting there working on this plan, and then it could come to you as like, okay, my purpose in life is like, for me, helping others. How am I going to do this? What calls to me? Social work calls to me. So that's what that's what my purpose is in life. Intuitive feedback doesn't just come from our spirit guides. It can come from a whole host of other things. Like it could be the way our body feels, the people we're attracting into our life, the physical clutter or space around us. Look at the symbols and patterns in your life. If somebody keeps popping up into your life, or the same type of people, or the same topic, or whatever the case is, if that keeps popping up into your life, take notice of that, because could be your spirit guides nudging you into the right direction of where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be accomplishing in your life.
I think it's important to say this again, because we kind of already talked about it earlier, but you have to be able to build trust between you and your spirit guides, but also be able to trust yourself. So when you're getting those nudges and you're getting those feelings, be able to trust your instincts, and then the signs and the synchronicities that you're being sent, be able to trust them and follow them and understand that this is where you're supposed to be going. You're going in the right direction if you're trusting these instincts.
And if you are feel just so lost on where your spirit guides are trying to send you or what your purpose is in life, it's helpful to know, at least for me, what they look like, what their names are. Some people will never know what their spirit guides' names are, and that's fine. They'll never know what they look like, and that's fine too, because it just depends on how they come to you. But it's helpful to kind of know who's on your team. And if you don't have psychic abilities and you don't know where to start, or you think you may have psychic abilities but don't know how to hone those, it's always a good idea to reach out to someone in your area that can connect you to them, because there are people out there who are definitely more in tune than anything that I can do for any amount of reasons, but they can get you connected with your guides and your teams, or they can reach out to your guides and your team and ask them to give you signs that are clear to you and that you will understand. And that can help you build that trust.
Yeah. And then something too that I read is that when you start working with your spirit guides, it's a good idea to start keeping a journal of everything that you hear or you sense, or that signs and symbols that you're seeing, along with all the synchronicities within your life, because this can help connect the dots and interpret these symbols and messages along the way, being able to see them happening, when you're doing certain things and connecting the dots with that. But also once you start seeing them, it's said that they're going to pop up everywhere at that point. Once you start recognizing this is a sign or a symbol or, a message, you're going to start seeing things that fall in line with that over and over and over again to kind of reaffirm that. And then meditation is another thing that helps, because it helps teach your brain to slow down and make space for yourself. And then again, your spirit guides don't often thrive in chaos, because they're on that higher plane of the higher frequency. I was like, what is the word? What's the word I'm looking for? They operate in a higher frequency. So when you're able to calm that chaotic energy and you allow it to dissipate, that's letting your spirit guide show up and then start to build that relationship with you.
And it raises your own vibrational frequency to be able to talk with them. And one thing that, we've discussed time and again already on this podcast is guided meditations. We have an entire episode on meditation, so definitely check out episode 5 if you haven't, or if you need a refresher on anything that we discussed on meditations. But just to kind of sum it up, there are a lot of guided meditations online to help connect you specifically with your spirit guides. There are also a ton of mediums that offer spirit guide workshops that can help you meet and connect with your spirit guides. And of course, as always, like I'll put in the show notes, or actually, I won't even put in the show notes. I'll put it on our social media pages, the spirit guide meditations that I use that I feel like really help me get connected and get to that higher vibrational frequency to be able to communicate with them. And I've had a lot of success doing these guided meditations. So I will list those if anyone's interested.
And then it's also important to set your intentions. I feel like we say this probably once every episode at a minimum, like set your intentions, speak your intentions into existence, and then that can help you to invoke your spirit guides.
Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, dreams are a great way to connect with your spirit guides, and you can invite them into your dream by, say, writing a question on a Post-it note or in your journal, leave it next to your bed, and ask your guides to send you a dream that answers a question just before you wake up. That way you'll hopefully remember the answer to the question that you asked.
Nice. I feel like if I do have a dream that's not like my normal horrible dreams, I don't remember them. So, or I'll remember like, oh, I had a weird dream, and then it like goes away really fast. But
that's how Mike is. He can never, the only dreams he remembers are like nightmares. And then he's just like, or it's like just a bad dream. And he's just like, I had a really terrible dream about us.
Mike. Same.
And I'm just like, I love how you remembered that one, but not the one where you were laughing in your sleep and woke me up. But
that's Anthony. Anthony will like laugh or say random things sometimes. And I'm like, bruh, that's creepy. Stop it.
Yeah.
Like when he just randomly laughs in the middle of the night, I'm like, please don't do that. Something else you can do is you can light a candle. So it's suggested that you use the white 7-day candles, and you can get them from the dollar store. If you're in America, obviously the dollar store. I know there's equivalent stores in like the UK and Germany. I just cannot remember what they're called, but get these
Poundland.
Poundland. Stop it.
But for real, there's Poundland.
I'm dead. So take yourself to Poundland, and get a 7-day white candle for £1. Mm-hmm. So basically you use the candle to ask your spirit guides questions. So just again, make sure that you're in a space where there isn't a lot of airflow or a draft, because what you're going to be doing is watching the flame's reaction. Like, does the flame grow more intense? Does it kind of die out? Does it start to dance? Those kinds of things can be signs from your spirit guides.
And then also, we mentioned this already on the podcast, but ancestral altars are a great way to connect with your spirit guides and to either you can meditate at the altar or you can just work with the altar. If your spirit guides include an ancestor, whether that be a blood relative or like maybe ancestors that go back many generations, if you know your heritage, creating an ancestral altar can be a great way to honor them and to ask them for guidance. And then something that I do as well is, like, to me, and just in my own personal beliefs, like light blue is a candle that I use oftentimes whenever I am, wanting to honor my spirit guides, or if I'm trying to ask for guidance, or if I just want to light a candle for them, I will use light blue and I will put that on my altar. And I have like on my altar right now, like pictures of my dad. His birthday was last week. And so as part of my celebrations for his birthday, I, worked on my altar. I did a spell, and then I also, lit a blue candle. And so that can be a way to kind of give back to your spirit guides and just let them know that you're thinking about them and that they're on your mind. And then another way to kind of connect with your spirit guides is through divinatory practices. This can be through using oracle cards or angel cards. If you have them, channel writing, which is usually referred to as like automatic writing or like trance writing. And this can help you become more aware of messages that are being channeled through the spirit. I've never tried this before, but it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen it not in person. Like I've seen it. I want to say in a documentary I was watching about something, probably ghosts.
Yeah, probably
watching ghost documentaries.
But
I feel like that's where I've seen it. They kind of like put themselves in a trance, and just whatever they write on the paper is supposed to be a message from whatever spirits are there. But
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in it. I would love to learn more about it.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then psychometry, which is basically reading objects that belong to those on the other side. And you'll see this a lot in like any sort of like psychic medium, like shows or anything. A lot, oftentimes people will bring something that was important to somebody who has passed. And if, say, that person is on your spirit team, this can be a way to kind of get in contact with them.
Yeah.
Because they say that an energy imprint on something that belonged to somebody can reveal information about them and their personal relationships. And so, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, so this can be a great way to get in contact with your spirit guide. If you know, say, for instance, you have a family member that's passed that you believe is on your spirit guide team, this can be a great way to get in contact with them.
It's also important to note that like you have to be open and not to give up if it doesn't work right away. Like this is something that could take time. You're trying to build a connection and a relationship. So it's not something that's just going to happen in 5 minutes or overnight. Like it could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months. So just, remember not to get frustrated with it or just give up and quit because it doesn't work immediately. You have to learn how to put yourself in the right headspace and, how to understand certain feelings or messages or, nudges or symbols. It's not something that you're just going to learn immediately and, be the master of contacting spirit guides. Like you have to work at it. And then when working with spirit guides, you should be consistently giving them offerings, not just when you need something from them. So, don't give just because you want to receive. Give offerings without selfishness. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier when we were saying building that relationship. You're not going to just ask somebody that you don't have a relationship with for something personal, like help with something personal. It's something that you're going to go to those that you have a relationship with. So you wouldn't do it with your spirit guides either. Offerings can include things like food or drinks, non-food items like flowers, herbs, little knickknacks or jewelry, crystals, candles, things that you've found in nature, maybe statues that represent your guides. Or like Sam said, she has pictures of her dad on her altar. And then again, you can create an altar for them, like allowing them to have space within your home. And this even, you can even do like acts of service. So maybe like if you're working with land spirits, go outside in nature, pick up litter, protect like that natural feature of your land, or carrying out tasks that they might ask of you.
Or you can even do too. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I think too, like I was gonna mention this earlier, but then I was like, oh, well, maybe we'll talk about it later. But especially with the home spirit, like I know, like, and I know like in some cultures they'll talk about like feng shui and stuff, but if you notice, like whenever you have a clean space, the energy in your home is completely different than whenever it's cluttered. And I think that even just picking up clutter around your home, if you're working with like the spirit of your home, or say whatever history was present on the land that your home was built on, honoring your home and keeping it clean and keeping it, kind of tidy, I think could also be a great way to give back as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like all of us know that even just ourselves, we feel better when our houses are clean, when our space is clean. So it's really just kind of not only changing your own energy, but it changes the energy of your space. I keep hitting my desk, so if you hear these, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then when you start to honor your spirit guides, that's when you're going to start seeing them become more active within your life. So again, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that takes time. So don't just give up and quit if it doesn't happen on your first try. And then fostering, I keep saying, and then, and then that's my word of the day, phrase of the day. And then. And the pickles. I can think of. So with spirit guides, you're going to have to foster an ongoing relationship with them. And the relationship, again, should go both ways. It shouldn't be, I need something, so let me ask them. And then, you don't converse with them or honor them or do anything for them until the next time you need something. Some traditions believe that holding your spirit guides' identities and their details close to your heart is a sacred practice. So like this would mean not posting about them on your social medias or telling like literally everyone you come across, like, oh, so-and-so is my spirit guide. And it's of course, like if you, like Sam shares that like her dad is one of her spirit guides. I feel like that's a little bit different than if it was just like your dad is your dad. But if it's like some random person, you're like, oh, also this person. And they're like, why are you telling everybody?
Right. No,
Yeah.
I agree. Well, and I feel like too, like some interactions, I feel like that I've had with like my spirit guide team, it's just like, this is really cool. But it feels just so sacred to me that
Yep.
I don't want, because if you think about it too, sometimes people might not get it.
Yeah.
And like, it would just make me upset if like I wanted to talk about this with somebody and then they didn't believe me or they kind of brushed it off. And I'm like, no, like that would make me upset because are you disrespecting my spirit guide team?
Well, and that like if you talk to somebody outside of maybe like the pagan or witchy community and they're like, oh, what a weirdo. And you're like, cool, thanks. Yeah. So to foster this relationship, it's important to learn more about your guides as you go. Like keep asking them questions about, maybe what offerings they enjoy, how they would like to be honored. And this can be done using things like a pendulum, a candle, or for those with any of the clairs, just simply like asking and listening or watching, or like waiting for that nudge. And then you can call on them often, communicate with them. It doesn't have to, like, it shouldn't be just when you need something. You should be communicating with them, speaking out loud to them, or even writing things to them, like often, not just because it's like, oh, I need to do this, so I need to talk to my spirit guides. It should be like a friendship or a relationship. And then you could even host a dinner in their honor. Just making sure you give your spirit guides respect and honoring them in ways that, shows that you are appreciative and that you want to have that relationship with them. And then, of course, I always like to include like little extra things that I come across that weren't common in everything, but were interesting to me. So general, like this is in general, and this doesn't have to go for spirit guides only. This could be spooky spirits too. But what does spirit activity or communication look like? This could be sounds like knocks, banging, tapping, sounds of movement, missing items or items that turn up out of nowhere. Like I was saying with my grandparents, how they would like talk to the house, and if something went missing, they'd be like, oh, where did it go? And then it would show up within like a couple of hours, usually. Inanimate objects moving, visual orbs, shimmers or shadows out of the corner of your eye, or even just some kind of movement. Like you can see that there's some kind of movement, but you don't see anything else. Many times communication can be as simple as just that gut feeling or intuition that we've talked about earlier about a certain situation. And sometimes that feeling is just your spirit guides trying to point you in the right direction, to guide you. Like if it's you're feeling uncomfortable about a situation, they're trying to guide you out of that situation. Like, let's go a different direction here, kind of thing. And then sometimes your spirit guides will also communicate with you through dreams, like Sam said, or through signs and symbols. And then I've actually referenced this person in another episode, and I cannot for the life of me remember which one it was, but there's a clairvoyant and her name is Dagonet Nur. And according to her, we're paired with spirit guides that can best serve us. So she states that we'll often share complementary or similar strengths with our spirit guides, but that it also could be like something opposite. So if you're a person that always runs late, your spirit guide will be someone who was always on time in their past, kind of thing, so that they can nudge you to be on time.
That's really cute.
Was really cute. Yeah. And she also suggests that our spirit guides know us better than we actually know ourselves. and that their purpose is just to help us and to guide us in healing and in growth. And then I've already referenced this a little bit. Actually, I didn't say this particular thing. So I've already referenced Laurie Cabot and her Book of Shadows earlier in this episode, but she says that most times we will experience guides in pairs, and you'll have one male and one female. And this is compared psychologically to the anima and the animus of the Jungian psychology. So while Laurie Cabot suggests that only 2 spirit guides are with you at a time, most people do believe that we have multiple spirit guides with us throughout our lifetimes. So this is just, again, it's kind of a different take on the subject, but she believes that you always have one male and one female with you at any given time, and they're paired to complement each other or to completely contradict each other so that you have an even balance.
I can see that. I definitely think that like that is completely true with just how I've experienced my spirit guide team. And like I've experienced like one that is obviously not my dad, but like the 2 others that I've met, one was a female, one was a male. Between the 2, the female is like the very, not necessarily dominant, but very strong and very powerful. And the male is a little bit more gentler. Yeah. But like, I feel like the male is with the one that's like presented himself to me more times.
Well, and she says that it's like, it's meant to give you kind of that well-rounded essentially. So you, like you're saying, one is more like not necessarily dominant, but maybe more like projected and more not aggressive. What is the term I'm looking for? Like they give you harder pushes essentially, maybe. Yeah. While the other one is like, I mean, it's okay. Like we'll get there. Right. But it's to give you like that well-rounded scope is how she believes that it is, that it's always going to be that one male, one female, and they're often will have complementary personalities. So, you know, one's going to be maybe a little harsher at times, while the other one's going to be a little more gentler and soothing. And it's supposed to help you understand and move through these situations that you need to work through more quickly, or like transition through them more easily, rather than like being like, oh, this person's being mean to me, or this is not person. We keep saying person, but this spirit's being mean to me. They're telling me that I suck at life. You know? Yeah. You have one that's like, hey, you suck. You need to do this. And you have one that's like, it's okay. We can get you through it. So
the other one's like, no, they need to do it right now.
Yeah. You're like, I'm trying. And you're just like, no, you're doing good.
I really just think this topic is so interesting. And now that I've been learning more about it, and I've been doing these meditations, and I've been going to workshops and stuff on spirit guides, I think everybody should definitely embrace this topic and do their own meditations, or reach out to a medium, try to see who's on their spirit guide team, because it just, once I was able to establish that connection with my guides on my team and just experience that like all consuming just love and peace, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Because especially if you are going through a hard time and you do need that comfort, it's there. That's it for this episode of Get In Loser, We're Doing Witchcraft. You can find our source material for this episode linked in the show notes. If you love this episode, we would be forever thankful if you leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you really love the show and want more Get In Loser content, check out our Supercast link provided in the show notes, or search the Supercast website for Get In Loser, We're Doing Witchcraft. There you can purchase a membership to our podcast and obtain exclusives like getting episodes early, shoutouts on the show, access to our Ask Me Anything forum, our monthly newsletter, a promo code for merchandise, and more.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Get In Witches, or email us at we'redoingwitchcraft@gmail.com. Check us out next week, where we will discuss the pagan Sabbath Lammas. Until then, blessed be witches.